If you've ever wondered how you can increase your creativity, I have 5 tips for you today. So these 5 tips are not just something I thought of, they are all in the scientific literature. There are studies that prove these are the ways that you can increase your creativity. And you want to increase your creativity for such a variety of reasons. Increasing creativity gives you more happiness, helps you solve problems faster and quicker. You get to solutions in a much easier way, and you have way more fun. Okay, so let's dive in. There are 5. The first one is time in nature. And so that involves a little bit of solitude, some silence, and the research is under the category of forest bathing. It allows you to make contact with the present moment. It changes your experience in that moment, and it gives you greater access to mental clarity and relaxation. Okay, that's nature. The next one is, of course, writing. Now, I'm not talking about typing or taking notes on your phone. I'm talking about with a good old-fashioned pen and paper. And here's why. There are multitude of brain regions that only light up when you're writing with a pen that do not light up when you're typing on a keyboard. Why is that? The movement involved in writing is something that activates more spots in your brain, and there are spots in your brain that only light up during the writing process. And if you want to increase your creativity, you need more opportunities for neurons to fire in interesting and different ways. Of course, journaling your feelings, your ideas, your vision is excellent. However, you can just do your grocery list in old-fashioned pen and paper as well. And that will give you an opportunity, no pressure. You can just be writing here and there throughout your week. But keeping a journal is really, really important. It could be a diary in the morning where you're jotting down notes of what you're going to do that day, or it could be in the evening, writing 3 things you're grateful for. There is no wrong way to express yourself. If you've never enjoyed journaling, try bullet journaling and try art journaling, where you do a little doodle and then write a few words, 3 words. It's an incredible experience. Okay. Next one, close your eyes for 10 seconds. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and the literature calls it a soft reset. So that was 10 seconds. Didn't take very long at all. It's like turning your phone off and turning it back on. It is a reset in your brain for this one particular reason. Your occipital lobe right back here is where all the visual centers converge. It's where vision takes place. But when you take the visual center of your brain, that occipital lobe is connected to all these other parts of your brain. And it includes, movement, proprioception. It includes anything that you're taking in visually and then registering in your brain, interpreting, understanding it, reading body language, looking at art in a museum. All of this, driving a car, requires vision. Closing your eyes for 10 seconds. Let's all those parts of your brain, 60% of your brain, can just relax for a moment. And that soft reset will give you a fresh perspective on whatever problem you're tackling. Now, you might want longer than 10 seconds, of course, but 10 seconds is totally possible midday. You can do it in a meeting. You can, put your head down to write something and just close your eyes for 10 seconds. This is a really powerful tool. Okay. Balancing your anima and animus is the number one way to be more creative. And I talked about this a little bit on the podcast last week. And if you get in there on the Modern Creative Woman podcast, anima and animus, this balancing act, Jung considers the seat of your creativity, the source, the place where creativity begins, is when you can balance out your energies, your action and movement with stillness and receiving. Consuming and creating. This kind of yin and yang. This balance is creating that space for you to be creative. So check out that podcast and figure out ways that you can be active and rest. And I'm not talking about watching Netflix, not talking about scrolling on your phone while you take a break from your computer. Actual rest, receiving rest, allowing others to help you is another way to be receiving. And I know women are notoriously challenged by this. We want to help everyone else. We also need to receive help. Okay, the final one is make a little art. And you may say, oh no, Amy, I'm not that kind of creative. You are, trust me, it is primitive. The urge to draw and create and express ourselves visually has been around since the beginning of time. It is in your biology to create. Think of those cave drawings. That is a primitive, powerful urge. Think of getting dressed every day. You're creating, you're self-expressing. Think of how you've decorated your home. All of this is making things special and unique. There's cultural anthropologists who have studied this extensively. The urge to make art. If you've squashed it down, take the lid off. Do a doodle. Set the timer for 5 minutes and do circles, do spirals. Draw a circle and then create lines and shapes inside of it. And there's some really cool research, they call it like a microdose of art, where you make a little bit of art every single day. And what it gives you is this increased brain capacity to do so many other things. Now, I started keeping a little bit of watercolor paper on my desk, and I'm doing this as neurographia. I love doing these. This is something that we spend a long time working on the Paris retreat, and it is a really powerful tool. It was developed by a Russian psychologist who wanted to understand how we could mimic the brain waves and what happens inside our brain. Like, we keep thinking the same thoughts and it becomes like this Autobahn, a superhighway in our brain. The neurons just fire. One thing happens and we assume the rest of the story. This kind of doodle art lets you soften your old assumptions and create new neural pathways. So I have my paint and some paper always on my desk. It just allows me a moment here and there to create art. And if you put 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day into something creative, you will not only increase your capacity with that particular task, painting, drawing, you will also increase your psychological flexibility. And that lets you see new creative solutions. All right. I want to say happy birthday to my husband. It is his birthday today, and we're about to go out for lunch. Enjoy the rest of your day.